Good morning, gang. Happy Tuesday. So today I'm going to talk about a prep that I know I have never seen anybody talk about. And it's probably one that's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, both male and female. Probably the guys a little bit more, but there's enough women, I think, that are interested in this one too. And there seems to be a shortage of it around the world, like everything else. Okay. On Saturday, a lot of you asked me what I was drinking. Beer. Okay. There is, believe it or not, with everything else going on that nobody has talked about, there is a beer shortage in the world. And there's a couple of reasons. Okay. There's a big beer shortage in the UK right now, and it is primarily because of a driver shortage. So the bars aren't able to get the kegs of Heineken or Amstel or anything like that that the Brits want, and so there's a shortage of beer there. In the United States, probably in Britain too, but at least in the United States, we've got a big aluminum shortage. Okay. And, in the last 20 some odd years or whatever, there has been a big push. People like their microbrews, okay? The Budweisers and the Miller Lights and Coors and stuff like that are still the big players in the game. But, there's a lot more people that want their Laguna IPA or Goose Island or whatever it would be. And I understand, I've had plenty of those, and some of them are really good, and some of them taste like turpentine. But there's an aluminum shortage. So to give you this, Denver has one of the largest concentrations of microbreweries in the country. They have had 18 microbreweries close this year because they can't get the aluminum cans to do it. Okay, so what you wind up having happen is, the Budweisers and the Miller Coors and the Pepsis and the Cokes, they are dominating the market for aluminum cans. So the small market companies can't put out their product, okay? Because for the most part, bottles are so much more expensive than cans are. Y'all know microbrews are ridiculously expensive as it is. Now you want to add more money to it, they just can't compete. So, what I thought I'd talk about today was home brewing. Now, I'm not going to do it because it takes a long time to do it, okay? To make a batch of beer before the fermenting and everything like that will take me about an hour. So I don't think you want to sit there and watch me boil everything, but I'll show you kind of what it is, all right? And actually, I had mentioned on the live stream on Saturday, it's actually pretty simple. And there's a couple of really good companies that I'll link below that you can get complete kits to do this from soup to nuts. And literally, if you can boil water, you can make your own beer. Of course, it takes time, all right? It takes about 6 weeks. But then again, that's fermentation process. But so the one that's my favorite, and I mentioned this again on Saturday, was Mr. Beer, okay? And so what you get is a can like this. This one happens to be Canadian Blonde, okay? So figure this one's going to be something like a Molson or something like that. The one I was drinking on Saturday was a Oktoberfest, so think like a Paul Honor or something. And then the other one that I've got made up is a Irish Stout, so think like a Guinness. I make that one because Mrs. P likes that one. So, but there's a whole bunch of different ones. You can get the Czech Pilsners like a Pilsner or Kel, or you can get the Mexican beers like a Dos Equis or something like that. They have a whole bunch of different variety. I've tried most of them. There's a couple of them I really like, the ones I make. There's a couple of them that I don't particularly care for, okay? And so I don't make those anymore. But, like anything else, you prep what you're going to use. But, so literally what you're doing is you're getting a can like this, okay? You're, for all intents and purposes, dumping the contents in a pot, adding some water, heating it up, and then pouring it all into a keg. Okay, this thing holds about 2 gallons of beer. Okay, it'll ferment for 3 weeks. You take it out, you put it in the bottles that you get with the kit. You put the carbon dioxide drops in there. You let it sit for another 3 weeks, and poof, you have a really good tasting beer. Each one of these will cost you about what a case of beer costs, and it's a hell of a lot better beer. Okay, I mean, when I'm not talking a case of beer, I'm talking about you go buy a case of Natty Light or something. That's what this is costing. Okay, and I'm getting like I said, an Irish Stout or a Czech Pilsner, a Canadian Blonde, or whatever it would be. So I'm getting a much better tasting beer for the same amount of money, and it's a little bit of fun. Okay, and again, it's preppers. It's something that we do. The thing about this is, what happens if this whole scenario that we have now gets worse and worse and worse and worse? Okay, aluminum. Let's say something happens and there is a war. Okay, a World War III. Go back to World War II and what you couldn't get. I mean, you couldn't get tires. You couldn't get. People were selling the bumpers off their car for the metal to give to the war effort. Do you honestly think that if something like that happens and there was actually a war effort, that the aluminum is not going to be the very first thing that is going to be rationed? What do you think airplanes are made out of? Aluminum. Okay. So, maybe it's something that's worthwhile picking up something for your preps. The kits aren't that expensive. Okay, the starter kit, which will get you the keg, the bottles, everything like that, and I think it's got 2 of these in it, is about $50. All right, so okay, there's 2 cases of beer, and you're gonna make 2 cases of beer out of it anyway, and then you've got the bottles and the keg and everything like that to go on along to get more. But you think about, okay, your enjoyment factor. Imagine serving it for Christmas, and this is beer you made at home, okay, or whatever it would be. Thanksgiving, if you ordered it now and started it now, you'd be just about in time for Thanksgiving, okay? But also think in a SHTF situation where, boy, wouldn't sitting down and having a cold beer be nice? Or even better, what if it's something that you could barter? What if, oh, hey, I need a cord of wood chopped, and I'll tell you what, you go chop a couple of cords of wood, and I'll give you a couple of bottles of beer. I will bet you in an SHTF situation, there's guys that'll be like, I'll go split all that wood for you for a couple of beers, no problem. Okay. It's another prep. It's not a priority prep, obviously. No different than the wine was, the Applejack was, or anything like that. But I mean, they are still preps, and the whole idea is to try to live as comfortably as you can. You think of all the things you're going to have to give up. All right. Maybe sitting down in the evening one day after a hot day of working and having a glass of beer is something that you might want to have. Me, I'll stick to my non-alcoholic beers most of the time, at least during the week. The weekend I'll have 1 or 2 of my regular ones. But yeah, I mean, for something that's a treat, go for it. The other thing is, if you're not a beer drinker, here's maybe a little thing that, let's say wife is and husband isn't, or vice versa, either way. Here's a good Christmas present. Get them this for Christmas. And maybe it's something that gets them into prepping a little bit. Hey, you can make your own, you can save a little bit and store some of it in the back, Just a thought. Have a good Tuesday. Pinball out.